A long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, you got to see the movie you saw a long, long time ago. Hello, this is Derek Olson with the MySequel podcast. This week, we are tackling The Force Awakens, the newest Star Wars film. Now, chronologically speaking, we recorded this movie right after Force Awakens came out in theaters. At this time, it is now out on DVD, Blu-ray, all of that fun stuff. So it is a little old, so just warning you ahead of time on a few of our comments. But we had a lot of fun this time, and this was all the members that have done a MySequel so far were involved in this one. So we hope you enjoy it. So sit back and relax and enjoy the MySequel on The Force Awakens. This is Derek Olson, and you're listening to the MySequel podcast on Dirty Sprocket. I want to call it the Dirty Sprocket Podcast Network. We're not really, but I'm going to call it that. We have a podcast network.
Was that a question, or were you telling us
Podcast
that?
Network?
He was just putting his foot down
the
on
Dirty
the
Sprocket Podcast
right
Network?
now.
Well,
you really have to come up with at least one more podcast.
Right.
Yes.
You really just dropped that on us out of nowhere.
Nobody
There's a
else
lot of
was
pressure
aware.
that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You're
So-
like, hey, let's talk about some stuff. And then you're like, work.
Yep.
So simultaneously, we'll also be talking about our other podcast. We'll be doing them both at the same time.
Right.
It's a podcast. It's behind the scenes of this podcast while podcasting.
So Robert and I will be talking about cars, and you guys will be talking
Right.
about Star Wars. Is that the plan?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's
The
the
plan, yeah.
It's my sequel after dark. After dark.
After dark.
It's a social experiment. We're doing all of our podcast network podcasts in one podcast.
Yes.
It's never been done before.
This is going to be like a free form. This is going to be like slam poetry, Robert.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the first podcast.
That was one.
One in the
And we're
can.
done. And we're out. No. Oh my God. We've already gone off the rails. We just started the episode. We haven't even talked about what it is. Yes, you're listening to MySequel podcast. We talk about sequels. That's what we do. That's what you're here to listen to tonight.
And cars.
And cars. And cars. I guess.
Cars.
After
Like I
dark.
said, I am Derek Olson. We have with us tonight Robert.
That's me. Hello.
We got Jake is here.
That is me.
We got Matt.
Hello.
And Ryan is here with us too.
Yo.
So, we are all here, and we are all here tonight to talk about Star Wars The Force Awakens. We were discussing this before we started podcasting. It is important to note that we're going to be delving into spoilers. But given that the amount of money this movie has made, you've seen it. So, don't be mad at us. You should have already
or
seen it by
do,
now.
and
Or
get
be,
over it.
or do.
And if you haven't, you're not a real American anyway, and we don't care.
Damn
so
right.
Apparently.
Fuck out of this country right now.
The real point is we're not here to tell you what to do. So make your own decisions.
Yes.
But seriously, go watch the damn movie, losers.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Jeez, it's freaking Star Wars.
So, we're talking about The Force Awakens. We were kind of talking, this is one of the first movies we're doing that isn't necessarily a direct sequel to anything, but it fits in with the theme of what we're talking about. It is a sequel to the Star Wars, both trilogies, which I think is something we're going to get into a little bit. Now, typically one of the first things we talk about in these podcasts is we delve a little bit into the original movie. Again, you've probably seen Star Wars.
All you really need to know is in a galaxy far, far away.
Yes. A long time ago. In a galaxy. I've never quite understood that. I get it, but I don't know.
Well, you see, time is relative.
What is it for True Detective? Time is a circle or something.
Oh.
I didn't actually watch that
Or you
show.
just
I thought that was the Dark Tower.
Was it? I didn't read that
Isn't
either.
that
Or
like
you just say-
cause a wheel?
Cause a wheel, yeah.
Death Stars 2, or Death Stars 1, Rebels 2.
or maybe we just stumbled upon a reoccurring theme in every freaking story on the face of this planet that time just keeps repeating itself over and over again. In one
This
giant circle.
podcast is destined to not stay on track.
Oh, it never will. Never, ever, ever. But that's okay.
But we can't talk science with Star Wars, though.
No. What's annoying is you can't talk science with Star Trek movies anymore either.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about that anymore.
Because J.J. Abrams.
Yep. Which is going to bring up an interesting point when we're going to talk about. So I think, like I said, we're not going to talk about the originals a whole lot. We are going to reference a lot of it because you have to, because this movie made it abundantly clear you have to go back to the original movie. They brought it up. It's a valid point to talk about, is how close it is to the original movie, but it's something we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. So, The Force Awakens, we've all seen it. It's funny, Matt and I went and saw it, and one of the first things we said when we were done was, so we're going to have an argument about this, right? I think Matt and I are on a maybe different page than the rest of the guys.
Like I said, I have a very good point to make about that, but
Alright.
I'm saving it.
All right, there we go.
I've got it.
So are you saying you did not like it, Derek?
My opinion has been pretty much just like the top of the podcast. I liked it.
Which is good enough.
That
really is good
better.
enough.
I hope the mic picked that up.
Network?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you need to go back and see it like 3 more times.
I think
The
that's
various
honestly
common consensus that I've been told is that every time people go back and watch it like a second and third time, they like it more and more.
I think that's the problem I had with it a little bit, though, is like the original Star Wars I owned on VHS growing up, the THX, which I wish I still had because it was before the special editions, because I would totally watch the THX version. I've watched those movies so many times. I've even seen the prequels a bunch of times. I honestly don't care to ever see this movie again. Is a lot of it. Like, after seeing it, like, I liked it, but
I think you need to make make see it again.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure
I think
I'll
you owe it
see
to Star
again.
Wars to see it at least one
Oh,
more time.
I don't
in
know
the
if Star
theaters.
Wars anything. They removed that when they released Attack of the Clones.
Right,
I
tell
owe
me
them
about it.
nothing.
Can you elaborate on your hatred at all? Like,
It's not hatred. I don't hate this movie. I think part of...
Which by default makes it better than any prequel. Win.
Yes.
Bam.
No. You will hear no argument from me. It is far superior to the prequels.
Right.
so if it's not hatred, is it sadness?
I think here's the thing about it that's almost annoying.
Because I can't even say it.
Oh,
I didn't even know.
Oh, God. Somebody's going to talk with, like Yoda before we're done. Yes!
Yeah, something arbitrary leads to something arbitrary leads to something arbitrary.
Which leads to red lightsabers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think my problem with it is almost... I'm not that worked up about it one way or the other because it's not I don't feel it's terrible, but I don't feel it was that great. I felt it was very mediocre in my mind. So it's something I just... Like, I've got plenty of stuff because this is what we're doing. I mean, I can't be like, I don't really care to talk about it because that's literally what the podcast is we talk about movies and we overanalyze them.
I made it a point, personally, I didn't do any research before going in. I didn't look up and see who the actors were. I didn't want any spoilers. I wanted kind of a fresh plate to see it. And my immediate thought when I walked out of it was like, wow, that was pretty cool. But I'd seen this movie before.
Yeah.
You know, some orphan child on a desert planet, you know, gets
Right.
picked up and meets kind of a older gentleman who's going to kind of take them.
Right, but
Down
haven't
the
we
path.
also seen that movie before as well? Like 3 other times?
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing that always gets me about and this is the point that I was going to make is everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it's it's a remake of Episode 4." Well, Episode 1 was a remake of Episode 4. That's in Star Wars is constantly repeating itself, even in the expanded universe. Even if it's not canon, the point being is that they still kind of cherry picked things from
Absolutely.
there, and the Starkiller base is actually based on something else that was from the books.
It's kind of
There's
Star
the
Wars
World Destroyers, because they have the Star
genes,
Destroyers and they have the Death Stars, and then there was the World Destroyers in the comics, I believe. I don't know if those were in the books. I don't remember. But there was the World Destroyer. But there's always some big thing that can destroy either planets or galaxies or entire solar systems or whatever. Eventually they'll have the Universe Destroyer that, some guys just gonna be like, fuck it all. And I'm just gonna destroy Star Wars and make sure it never happens again.
I would like to point out, though, just for gee whiz, that the Empire is based on Germany.
Yes.
And Germany had a habit of doing that with their weapons.
Oh, yeah.
It was all about world destruction. It was
one cannon had to be bigger than the next cannon, had to be bigger than the next cannon. They ended up on a damn train. It ended up being entirely useless. So I mean, I don't care about the fact
if
they
you
keep
play the
building
Wolfenstein games, and they were up to some really freaky shit.
Yes, those documentary video games.
Because there was Mecha Hitler that we had to kill. Yeah, I think my thing is I don't necessarily have a huge issue with them hitting certain points again. That's not necessarily my issue of where I feel like it's very, very similar. I don't have a problem. Matt and I discussed, as soon as we were done with the movie, we came up with our plot for the movie.
Wait, the one you would have liked to have seen?
Yes, that I think
The
in my
fan
own
fiction
mind.
we're writing.
Right,
now.
yeah. And again, and here's the thing with this, because I thought it was a fine movie. Like, I have no strong feeling towards anybody that enjoyed this movie. Some movies are like, you like that? That's dumb. I totally get why people really, really like this movie. It just didn't quite grab me. But I'm okay because, honestly, the original Star Wars movies really followed the hero's journey. I mean, point by point, you can follow the hero's journey in the original Star Wars. It hits every single moment. And I'm okay if they do that again. I don't like almost the moments where it feels like more we're doing this for nostalgia than necessarily a story beat that makes sense. Like, hey, we're kind of hitting the same points, and that's okay. It's more like, oh, but here's kind of this thing. You remember this thing that you liked this thing?
This was,
Here it is again.
I will admit there is quite a bit of a fan service and nostalgia factor that gets like when he finds the sphere, the trading sphere that Luke had on the Millennium Falcon in Episode 4, just tosses it aside, and the hollow chest,
or even when they refer to the Millennium Falcon as, no, we don't want that, that's garbage.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
garbage.
You
Yeah.
see it, and I'll admit, I had a ear-to-ear smile on my face. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh boy, the Millennium Falcon. But
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, that's also kind of corny.
Right.
But I think everybody here could
and I
probably...
like how you almost knew exactly what she was talking about.
Yeah,
though,
you're
too.
like,
Even though they didn't
Yeah.
show it right away, you're like, oh, she's talking about the Millennium Falcon. I'll bet it's the
Yep.
Millennium Falcon.
I think everybody here can probably agree, though, this is the safest movie they can make to have
Absolutely.
the greatest appeal
Right.
and make all the fans
And
who
I
got
think it
upset with the
shows.
original prequels
Right.
to kind of maybe get them back on.
Yeah,
I
which
think
was,
this
I think
is-
was a necessity.
I think it's
I
very
think that really
much,
was a necessity.
Yeah, I think it's very much a response to the prequels more than it is the original movies.
Yeah.
Because of that. And that's something I think we're even going to talk about when it comes to kind of our thoughts as a sequel, because I do have kind of a point to make there, but that's
Right.
much later. Yeah, I agree. I think it's an entirely safe movie. It's kind of exactly... I think I got into a discussion with Monty, one of our other friends, the other day. We were talking. Again, I don't like the prequels. This movie's way better than the prequels. The thing I would say, though, I honestly respect some elements from the prequels a little bit, because I think he was trying some stuff there. It didn't work. Like, he was not good at it. And I think the problem is George Lucas is maybe not, or at least anymore, is not a terribly great scriptwriter.
Or director.
Yeah.
Well,
He can't direct actors. He's
Yeah.
never been able to direct
After the
actors.
first one, they brought on, and I can't remember the guy's name.
Kasdan.
Lawrence Kasdan.
The same guy that was the
wrote this one,
co-writer.
right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
wrote this one.
Irvin Kershner was the director, wasn't he?
He was the director.
Yeah, they brought
Kasdan
in-
was a
Kasdan
writer.
was the
on
writer,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think personally that The Empire Strikes Back is the best movie of them all. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they
agree.
originally brought in somebody else to kind of write a good story with it, you know.
Way to have the common opinion, Jake.
No.
Hey,
Empire,
Everybody
Robert
thinks that
didn't know
Empire's the
this.
best one.
but it's true. Empire's
Robert
the best
likes
one.
Ewoks. Back off.
Oh, that's right.
I do like the Ewoks. I never said I didn't like Empire, you jerk face bully.
I kind of like the Ewoks too. So
Yeah, I'll take Ewoks.
I like
over
the Ewok
Gungans
adventure.
any
So
day
how
of the
about you
week.
just eat a Wookiee dick? How about that?
We're gonna have to edit that out. Wookiee, it's copyright Disney Corporation.
We can't do this. Yeah, Disney's
all
gonna
rights
come after us.
reserved.
Yeah.
You gotta
So-
say trademark after everything we mentioned Star Wars.
So I'd like to make 3 points.
Okay.
That I think it's kind of
3 points.
3 points.
Only
It's kind of-
3.
All right, we're putting point one
There
on
will
the
be
board.
there will be more, but right
Okay.
now I'm gonna
right.
throw all 3 of them out. That I think unfairly cast a shadow on this movie, and it's not a huge shadow this time around because I think the movie stands on its own. I mean, I didn't expect you to like this movie, so the fact that you did at least lukewarmly like this movie is a win as far as I'm concerned. But I love the movie. I thought it was a great movie. But here's some things that the movie's got going against it. First of all, it's nostalgia. You know, when we talked to you mentioned that they chased it a little bit, but they can never overcome the nostalgia
Right.
of the original Star Wars movie, because to start with, it was the first of its kind. It literally shattered all preconceptions or ideas that people had about what a science fiction film should be, right? I mean,
Well,
but since that point, we've had a million Star Wars movies, right? We've had so many movies that this isn't breaking new ground. I mean, you're
Right.
not likely to ever do that again.
I
So
think we've only
that's-
had 7.
That's the first.
Still 1 point.
That's the first point.
Okay.
The second point. Oh shit! I'm gonna pull a Ross or what's his name and forget my points now. The other one is us. We're the problem.
Rick Perry.
right.
Because we're of the original Star Wars generation, and we're a lot of us are so dead set in what Star Wars is to us, which was those first 3 movies, that it's extremely hard for us to open our minds to what they could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think most of us, or all of us in here, are not fans of the prequel movies.
No.
There are millions of people who love the prequel movies.
Oh, yes.
And I'm a little bit younger than everybody else in here. The first prequel came out, I think, when I was 12 years old. And I loved it. And I went and saw the other 2, and I'm like, yeah, more Star Wars.
I saw the first one multiple times in theaters.
Yeah. And then I didn't even realize there were bad movies till I got to college. And people were like, oh, yeah, those are horrible. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then kind of did the rewatch, and I'm like, okay, they're really not as good as the original. But I still kind of had this childhood, younger adolescent like feeling towards it, where it's like, yeah, pod racing. And now I'd be like, I cut the pod racing down to 2 minutes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I mean, again, but when I was younger, that was really cool. I still kind of have this nostalgia tied to it.
Well, and to its credit, I will always defend the fact that George Lucas got to make the movies that he wanted to make, and that's great. I mean, that's something that somebody in his position or with his kind of fame anyway usually doesn't have that kind of power.
Yeah.
And so I mean, as aspiring filmmakers, that's who wouldn't want to have that kind of power to be able to just say, no, I want to make my movies the way I want to make them. But the thing with the prequels, like when I saw episode 1, I saw it opening day after high school. We jumped in a car and we fucking raced to Spearfish to see this movie. And when we first got out of it, when we first left the theater, there were smiles. There were people happy. And then there was the drive home. And on the drive home, it's like every single minute that went by during the drive home, it just kind of dawned on me more and more and more how much I just did not like it. But looking back on it now, I could still take episode 1 over 2 any day of the week.
Absolutely. The first one is by far the best out of those 3.
Yeah. 2, well, I mean, I was actually a huge fan of episode 3, because that, to me, was like the tone, anyway, that the whole trilogy should have been. It's like, this is the movie that the whole trilogy should have been spread out over 3 movies, rather than having all of it in one movie at the very end, and having, Anakin Skywalker transform into Darth Vader in literally the blink of an eye, and the hacking of a Samuel L. Jackson hand, and that was it. Now he's evil. Oh, no. But they could have made that story bigger, but no, he didn't. And I think that was the thing about the prequel trilogy compared to the original trilogy, was the tone. The tone was so different. And you made that point about the old fans and the new fans. And I think that's where the old fans were taken back, because it really was a considerably different experience from the original trilogy.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at is that we have. You guys straight up stole my second point. I'm taking my time back.
I have a point.
Or is it like point 1D?
This is 2C. So there's us that our introduction to Star Wars was the original 3 movies, but now we're dealing with people and directors and actors and writers whose experience also includes the prequel movies, the Clone Wars, and all kinds of different
and the holiday special,
all kinds of different avenues into the Star Wars universe that we didn't have. So there's so many different perspectives on what Star Wars is, and I think for a lot of us, it's a little irritating that our idea of what Star Wars should be is not necessarily the dominant idea of what Star Wars is anymore.
I think, honestly, to that point, I think that's the thing that bothered me the most about the movie. I didn't want them to retread Star Wars. I didn't care. I have Empire, I have A New Hope, I have Return of the Jedi. I don't want them to make those movies again. Like, even to the point where I enjoyed the first part of this movie more than anything else, because I felt it was the most on its own. I liked the new characters a lot. I really liked kind of the 3 leads. I wish we would have spent a hell of a lot more time with them. I really like Poe. Played by a very terrific actor. Oscar Isaac's amazing. I liked his performance. He just disappears through most of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like
90% of it.
Yeah. That's almost my problem with it, was almost every moment of nostalgia that was happening took me out of the movie. More than it was like, I'm excited about this. It was like, I don't want this. I'm cool. I want to spend time with Finn and Rey. And I'm curious about their adventures. And I wanted to spend time, and I wanted Poe to be in there. I wanted the core that we followed to be those 3, not Finn and Rey and then Han and Chewie. Because that's really who we follow through most of the movie. I would have rather have we hit these other characters, some of the original ones, but I rather would have. Yeah, I didn't want the originals again. I loved
think
the
part
originals.
of the thing with Han Solo is, I'm pretty darn sure that was a mostly the studio and J.J. Abrams just kind of catering to Harrison Ford and what he always wanted, which he finally got. And
Which honestly, I was glad it happened.
I was
So
kind of
couldn't
glad
be
it
in any-
happened too.
So that he couldn't be in any more Star Wars movies.
Yes.
Yes.
Plus, he's
Yes.
old. They're gonna have to kill him all off one movie.
Yeah.
at
Well,
a
yeah,
time.
eventually. But I mean, and he always thought that that's what should have happened to his character in the first place. That's why they put him in Carbonite at the end of Empire Strikes Back, because they weren't sure if he was ever going to come back. And so, Harrison Ford finally got what he wanted with his character. And I think that that's great. And I have a point about that, too, that I'll make later, about just the way that happened and what happened and how it relates to the original movie. And now I forgot my point. Damn it.
Well, I'm going to throw out there
I'm
that
going to blame you, Robert, because you mentioned the whole forgetting points thing.
Blame it on me all you want to. I liked Harrison Ford in this one. And
I loved
think,
him.
I think,
I
I
loved
think,
it.
I think Derek's kind of being a little bit unfair because
I liked him in
we
it.
saw. I know, but the point I'm getting at is we saw very little of Chewie, and we saw very little of Leia.
Right.
What we saw was a little bit more of Han, but we didn't see. The movie is not. Han is really only in the middle section of the movie for a little bit.
Actually, no, that's one of the things I love
He's
about it.
in
Because
it
most
of the
this is actually the one Star Wars
No,
movie
it's
where
not.
Chewie actually does something.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
he
he
was
does,
in it.
but
I think he was
when
in
you
it
start- you
for probably like 75% of the time, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. He's in
This
it a
is like
lot.
the
I don't
first
know.
15 minutes, and then he dies and misses the end because he's
the
dead.
very end.
No, because we're introduced to
Yeah, but the first
Red.
15 minutes we're not with
Finn.
him.
Finn.
We're with the other characters.
Yeah.
and then we go to her, and then we're eventually introduced to. Yeah, he doesn't have that much time in the movie.
I would be curious
It's
to look
enough,
at.
but
I
it's
feel like he
important-
was
it's
in it a shitload.
It was well,
But
he's
like
a-
I said, I
he's a
think that was an intentional thing, though, because
Because they're
if they
killing
were
him
going
off.
to, they're going to kill him off, so
Sure.
they need to give him as
Right.
much screen time as possible, because for one, it's going to build up that emotional connection to him more. And what I was going to say is, I'll just go ahead and make that point now. It's a little off from what we were discussing, but I just want to go ahead and make it since I'm talking about it right now. Han's death in this movie. In fact, there are several instances, or at least two that I can think of right off the top of my head. Han's death and the destruction of Coruscant, which blew my fucking mind. To me, what like everybody talks about the things that this movie does that they did in the original movies. To me, this movie did it better. Like the death of Obi-Wan Kenobi was, a little bit of a shocker for anybody who saw that movie for the first time. But you don't know Obi-Wan Kenobi. We didn't grow up with Obi-Wan Kenobi. We haven't watched these movies a million times. So for me to see Han Solo die in this movie and at the hand of his own son, no less, had way more emotional impact than watching Obi-Wan die in the original. And watching the destruction of Coruscant, the capital of the Republic. That was huge. I mean, destroy Alderaan? Who cares?
I've
I've never even seen the surface of Alderaan.
Coruscant's not what they blew up. they didn't blow up
It
Coruscant.
looks like Coruscant to me.
It's a different. It's
I-
a whole different system.
I actually-
Are you
With the
serious?
C name, I
Where
think,
did they
though,
say
isn't
that?
I forget what the name of it is, but it's a whole different system.
Maybe
Yeah.
you needed to watch the movie one more time.
Maybe I do need to go watch the
Yeah,
movie
it's-
one more
it's not-
time.
it's not-
because
not-
at no
it's not
point do they
Coruscant.
ever like specifically say which system it is.
They do in the books. They do in the books. And,
Oh,
and
well,
yeah, they mention
They
what
say
system.
some name, and I don't remember
They
what
say
it
a
was.
name. I don't remember what
It was
it
Do
is.
they
something
really?
similar, though. It was like something with a C.
Yeah, I
could've
don't remember
swore
what
it was
they
Coruscant.
said. but-
I don't remember the name.
I thought it was
yeah,
Coruscant.
No, it's
Because
not
that was the whole
Coruscant.
point, was that they destroyed the Republic.
Which would be kind of a
Yeah.
funny, like, F you to the prequels. To
That's what I
blow
thought
up
it was.
Of course.
It was. Well, see,
thought it was.
and I'm gonna have to go watch it again. I'm gonna have to do some more research. But I was listening to a podcast today, Full of Sith, is a podcast
I've heard of that.
all about Star Wars. They were alluding to the fact that they didn't even blow up the Republic. Is that the Republic, the seat of the Republic, is constantly being moved, and it wasn't there.
Okay.
So they blew up something they thought was the Republic, but it wasn't. But it is definitely not Coruscant.
It's funny. I actually have a point to make. Kind of what you were saying,
I just
Ryan.
to say that's weird because I also thought it was Coruscant.
I did too.
It
I
looks
did too.
exactly like it.
Yeah.
It does.
Jake's got the
Well, in
magic
fairness, there's an
internet
awful
machine.
lot of planets.
It was a giant planet
And the-
that was one giant city, and
That's-
isn't that the
it
whole
looked a
thing
little-
about Coruscant? Though?
Yeah, it looked
probably
lot like-
a
I
million
thought it
other
looked
planets on the inner
And it
rim.
didn't even blow up just one planet. It blew up like
It blew up the whole
4.
system.
Yeah.
They took out the whole system. Yeah.
It's funny though, but like I said, I kind of had the opposite reaction that you did, Ryan, to it. I felt nothing when it blew up because I was so confused at that point of the movie. I didn't know what the New Republic was. I didn't know how it factored in with the rebellion or who the First Order was. I was very confused at that point of
That's
kind of.
definitely
I
a weak
wanted
spot
more
in the
back
movie.
story.
Yeah, so I didn't quite understand. So when it blew up, I had no frame of reference to it. I didn't care. Whereas the original movie, I thought blowing up Alderaan worked better because we had a connection to it through the character of Leia. We didn't really know anything about it, but we had a connection through a character witnessing it and feeling it being like that. I mean, I see where you're coming from. Like, I mean,
but see,
you know.
that's why I thought for sure that it was Coruscant, because that
Right.
hit me, because
Yeah,
even though
well,
I hate
think we all
movies,
might.
we've spent, I mean, I was actually watching a YouTube video from a guy a while back who was trying to make the argument that the prequels were better than the new movie, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to ever go that far. But
No.
he kept saying, you know, there's no context to anything. There's no context to the Republic. There's no
Well, see,
context
but
to this or
there-
that.
but
And I
that's-
think that the context will eventually come.
The context is there. The
Yeah.
context is there.
But that's what I said, is that there is context.
What they did is they put it all in other medium.
Right, which
all,
is
all the politics and stuff, everything you need to know are in the books that preceded the movie. It's all there. But it shouldn't have been.
No.
We should have been able to watch the movie and understand what was going on. That's a weak point of the movie, and I agree with that. I had the same reaction. I didn't care that they were... The thing that made me... Here was my reaction, was they shot a laser beam out of a planet that turned into a heat-seeking missile, and that's bullshit, and that made me really mad. It turned into not just one heat-seeking missile,
Right.
but 4 heat-seeking missiles, and that shit pissed me off. The fact that it was a... I didn't care about the system, because I didn't know anything about it.
What it says on Wikipedia is the Starkiller base destroys the Republic capital and fleet.
I kind of thought it was Coruscant because I thought it might have been like a screw you to the prequel.
That's exactly what it felt like.
It's not. It's
but
not
see,
Coruscant, but
to-
it is the Republic.
It would be kind of awesome
me,
if they
that's
built
supposed
their
to be the
capital
context,
of a
though,
giant
too, is that-
planet-sized ship that could fly around. Like they took the plans from the Death Star to build their own city that's a planet.
To me,
They
the
built
context is the movies themselves. That's why I didn't feel like I really needed to have all that backstory, and that's why I didn't feel like I needed the clarification of what planet that they just blew up, because I was like, well, I just spent the last 3 movies, like 90% of the movies takes place on Coruscant. We know what the planet looks like. We know what's there. We know the Republic's there. We don't really need that explanation because we spent 3 whole movies with it. The context to me, I watched this movie and I was like, this is actually a true Star Wars movie, because they just kind of throw this stuff out there, assuming that you, the Star Wars nerds, will know what this stuff is.
But how much
that
more-
we don't have to explain where's the Republic.
I'm just throwing this out there, but how much more impactful would it have been had we had maybe not the scene with the
Pod racing.
no, not the pod racing, the
Ewoks.
the TIE fighters from the Apocalypse Now shot, and a little
That was a
less.
great
and
shot.
it was a beautiful shot, but didn't work.
It's a shot movie.
Didn't belong there.
Wouldn't agree-
And maybe a
would disagree
little
with that
less
at all.
Harrison Ford. And what if Leia was on one of those planets?
yeah.
How much?
That
how much
probably would have
more
had
of
a lot more.
Matt and I were
impact would that have
talking-
Slave
had?
Leia.
Actually, slave Leia.
Matt and I were talking when they
ruining
blow
this
up
movie for me.
the Republic, or when they were going to blow up the planets there at the end. Of course, they stopped at the last second. I love Matt leaned over, was like, "What did you?" Say?
I said the most awesome thing, which they totally would not do because it's too awesome, is if they actually failed to blow it up.
And it blew up the rebels.
Yeah, like it would have just been such a crazy twist to throw in there,
Yeah, I would have loved it because it would have.
and it would have just set things
I
up.
can almost just imagine that there probably was a draft of the script like that at one point in time.
Oh yeah,
It would have
Especially
made
with
a
J.J.
compelling
Abrams involved, I'm
ending,
sure.
You know, made a very compelling ending.
oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Like I wish there had been some kind of twist in there like that to make it its own movie.
Yeah, to stand on its own just a touch more.
Just a little bit, something that would have something to just undermine your expectations in some way
Right.
like that, and in a good way. Like, oh, so it's what are we gonna do now? It's
Right.
Yeah. Well, and I think that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you're right, and I think it's kind of funny actually that it almost seems like the big twist to me was the punch in the face that Luke Skywalker's only in the movie for 5 seconds.
Yeah, that blew my
That's
mind.
your twist, ladies and gentlemen.
And didn't he almost die shooting that or something?
Yeah,
like he
something
fell
like
off
that.
a cliff
Yeah.
or...
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, I was like, how did
First
he
5
get
seconds.
injured?
What I want to know is, so Lando Calrissian.
We can't have him back.
No. It's flying.
Killing me, Jake.
It's
Killing me.
flying the Millennium Falcon, and he takes off the satellite dish, and says he's gonna fix it. It's not there in this movie. That's like the number one thing I was looking
is
for.
there.
Son of
No,
a
the
dick.
satellite dish is not on the Millennium
Yes,
Falcon.
it is.
Lando.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It's a square one. They replaced it with a square satellite
Well,
dish.
that's how satellite dishes work.
You need to go watch the movie again. You guys are terrible.
Maybe we
Star
should just
Wars.
all pause
You
this
guys-
podcast
do you
and
guys
we'll
watch
just go
this
watch
movie
the
with
movie
your
again.
eyes closed or what? I mean, there's some really important
You
details.
do
that
have
you
to
guys
stop
are-
shaking
are
your head at some
seriously
point and
missing.
actually pay attention to
Maybe,
what's going on
yeah.
on screen.
Maybe if the movie did a better job of explaining things.
You don't have to
That's just
explain.
it. It didn't need to explain anything. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Is that it's a movie for Star Wars fans. You should already know this
You
stuff.
can't make that movie in today's society, though, because this movie is
But
for
you can.
everybody from
And-
us
and
to
the
my
numbers is
5-year-old
proving that.
niece that I took there. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That the movie's made for
Like you said,
such a
it's
broad
so
audience.
safe.
Right.
It's so safe that they don't want to alienate
Yeah,
anybody.
it's my
Yes.
biggest issue with the movie was the pacing. And
Oh.
things
I
just
don't think
moved
it's that
wa-
safe. They
way too
gutted
fast.
Han Solo.
Of course they were going to gut. I saw that.
No.
like,
Killing Han Solo is one thing.
At the beginning
His
of the movie.
kid gutting him with a lightsaber is something entirely different.
Yes.
My biggest disappointment is nobody lost a hand.
I mean, it's not a perfect movie by any means.
Although
but
technically speaking, C-3PO has a red arm, which indicates the loss of an arm at some point.
There you go.
Yeah, back on the. Obviously, it was damaged when Darth Vader threw him into 100 pieces.
Right.
It just never worked right again.
Blasted him in half.
Yes. No, yeah. So, like I said, I mean, I've got problems with the movie. I don't hate it, but it's almost the thing is it's my problem was slightly what Abrams did with Star Trek too. I have kind of a similar issue. It's because, and I get it, it's not necessarily. This one is more for the fandom, but even like you said though, it's not just for. Because if it was literally just for the fandom, it wouldn't be breaking the numbers it's breaking.
No, it's for everybody who.
They
has
put
a
in
movie
a lot
theater.
more than the
Yeah.
prequels did for the fans. So they were trying to gather that market back. Like, we do want the hardcore fans. We also want all these other people, but we're welcoming the hardcore fans in.
Well, and by revamping the original story, that's how they brought in the new audience, because now they do have something new to go with.
Right.
And maybe, for the younger, I guess, well, not necessarily younger, but more like the teens and onward, upward, I can see them having a few more questions at the end of the movie. But at the same time, I think they all just kind of need to take a step back and be like, you know what, we still have 2 more movies to go. And I'm just going to say right now, I have absolutely huge. I have all the faith in the world that 8 and 9 are not going to be rehashes.
And I think
of
that's
Empire.
kind of.
I'm more
They had to make this movie to reboot.
Yes.
Sort of
to
reboot
some
the
level.
franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think they can do
That's
more.
what it serves as.
Yeah.
It is definitely. It's kind of. Yeah, it's definitely a
It's
reboot,
a reboot
in a
in
way.
disguise,
Yeah,
basically.
I just want to say this is exactly what I thought after the first Abrams Star Trek, and then we got a remake.
and then we got Into Darkness.
I would like to point out, just to kind of connect this back to the first one, A New Hope was very likely going to be a one-off movie.
Yes.
So it was an entirely self-contained movie.
Right.
This movie, on the other hand, has no intention of being
It's
a
trilogy.
one-off movie.
Right.
So there is probably some information that was intentionally left out for them to cover later.
Right. No, and I completely understand that. I just feel like binge watching it later can make it better. But as a movie-going experience of this one that I saw, because of some of those elements, I disliked it. It's some of the problems I have with some of the Marvel movies too, because Marvel movies are doing that too. It's like, oh, we're kind of setting this up for the next thing.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't have a ton to do with the movie we're telling right at this moment. Or, oh, we're going to cover that later. And it is slightly a detriment to the movie as the movie. Now, put them together, it can fit really great. And I would even say, too, I'm more excited for the sequel. I'm just not a huge J.J. Abrams fan. I'm excited about the guy that's going to direct the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Rian Johnson, who
Rian
did
Johnson.
Looper and Brick, which is one of my favorite movies. I'm excited to see. It's almost the same thing as why I was excited for the new Star Trek. I didn't want... Well, part of the Star Trek ones was also Lindelof and Kurtzman and Orsi, who were writers on that, and I don't like them. But I was excited to maybe see that go to somebody else, and that's why I'm kind of excited for the next one. I'm just not a huge fan of some of these things. I'm interested to see, because again, I liked the new characters a lot. I had a lot of fun with them. I'm excited. I want to know more about them. They really pulled me in. Like I said, they pulled me into the movies more than any of the nostalgia stuff did.
Well, you're not going to get any more Harrison Ford, so I hope you're happy.
Well, there you go. And I liked Harrison Ford in the movie. Like, I'm not trying to say it.
Not
He's
a-
a
But you
old,
have plenty
dangerous
of Mark
man.
Hamill to look forward to.
He was
Clearly,
crashing
that's
helicopters and airplanes left and right. They had to kill him off just because they didn't know if they could put him in
gonna
another
die.
movie.
So,
And when this comes out tomorrow, when Harrison Ford is dead, I am very sorry
He's
for
the
making
one who
these
he
statements.
hurt his back during this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
So this will be Jake's last podcast.
no, and I liked Harrison Ford in the movie. It's just...
He really liked when Harrison Ford left the movie.
I just want to recap really quick. Did we ever get to Robert's point number 3?
I don't think we did, actually.
You didn't. You guys won it.
Let's let him go.
No, I forgot what it was entirely. No.
You know, actually, back to a point you said earlier, which I think is kind of interesting, because Matt and Robert and I were talking about this the other day. We asked, because Robert's read, like you said, you were talking about some of the ancillary material Robert's read and stuff, and it was interesting, because we asked him some of these questions about the Republic. And when you explained that to me, like, kind of what happened, I was fascinated. I really enjoyed that. And someone was like, man, I would have liked to have seen that in the movie.
Well, maybe you should read a book.
We should
I
do
don't
some
give a shit about
podcast liner notes at the end here where Robert explains this to me, because I would like to know too.
I liked it. I honestly really liked it, and I would have preferred to spend a little bit of time in the movie going over some of that stuff, because I liked it.
I do think
I
it's
thought
kind
it
of
was an
bullshit that
interesting
those books
idea.
came out
Kind
before
of-
the movie, though. I mean, that's kind of like...
Yeah.
That's almost like the Lego games coming out before the movies and giving away the ending.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they all take place way before the movie does. I mean, they're not. But the thing that the books do is they set up the politics. They let you know a little bit about why things are.
Who the First Order is, who's the Republic now.
Well, they're not the Republic; they're the Resistance.
New Republic.
Well, there is the new.
there's the
there is
Resistance
new-
and the Republic. but-
Well, not anymore. They got wiped out.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, there
got
was the
blowed up.
Republic, but who we were dealing with was the Resistance.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, the Republic's what got blown up.
Yeah.
Well, and if you kind of think about the original, you never really learn much about the governmental structure other than the Imperial small group of ships we see attacking the rebels, but you never really get much into the politics.
Yeah, I
of the
think the
originals
most
either.
political part of the entire original trilogy is probably the scene from A New Hope, where Tarkin comes in with Darth Vader, and when they're having the big meeting about the Death Star, and he informs them that the Imperial Senate has been completely dissolved, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. And then he's
I
like,
think-
all the regional governors now have control over their direct control over their territories. That's it. That's
I
the
think
most
what helped in the
political
originals-
those movies ever get.
I think what helped in the originals, kind of getting a better understanding of what that was, is they kept it very simple, in a good way. Empire, rebels.
Right.
There's two factions. We understand by saying Empire. We get it. We kind of understand who the rebels are. That's
Allies Axis.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this one, I think the only issue is by adding in the Republic almost being the third entity, makes it less straightforward to kind of understand without a whole lot of knowledge.
It is a little confusing.
Right, because
It's
like
very
again,
confusing. I have no idea.
Right,
I'm like,
Empire-
oh, so are these like rogue Empire guys that started the First Order? Are they still controlling some territories? Well, this will be in the liner notes with Robert and I at the end.
Yes.
so yeah. I just wanted more Poe in the movie. I just wanted more Oscar.
You're
Isaac.
definitely going to get more Poe.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
And again, that's why I'm excited in a way for the next movie.
You know, I also do kind of get this like sinking sensation that this is almost going to be one of those movies you definitely want to watch on DVD or Blu-ray, because I have this big feeling that there's probably a crap ton of deleted scenes.
I'm sure there
Like
could be.
I'm almost convinced that there's probably a 3-hour movie there that they just cut out, or at least I kind of hope that there is, because it would almost sort of help explain what's going on with some of that stuff.
The problem with this movie, in my opinion, and with a lot of movies today, is they just go too fast and they're just all action. Versus the original, you kind of, it starts off kind of slow and you build up the story. Then some crazy stuff happens when they get sucked into the ship and all that, and then they leave and it kind of goes slow and you got plot development. You learn about your characters. Versus in this, we know that Rey is an orphan and that the stormtrooper gentleman, I forgot his name.
Finn.
Finn.
Yeah.
That Finn was a stormtrooper, and that's all you really, they don't bring too much detail into it.
Well, I
They
mean,
don't
that's
elaborate a lot.
What was his
on it.
actual name?
But that's
'Cause he
exactly
didn't
the
actually
same
have
thing
a
we
name.
got
He
in
was-
Star Wars. I mean, all we knew about Han Solo was he was a scoundrel.
Yeah.
All we knew about Luke was that he was an orphan too.
But I
An
think there
orphan
was
farm boy.
But you get a little more like the dynamics between him and his aunt and uncle.
You're
They don't
spending a
want
little
him to
bit
go
more
off.
time.
Yeah.
You do spend a little bit more time. It's not the original movies do not have incredibly depth characterizations of any of the characters.
But I think that's a good point, though, about how different this movie is, though, because even though you don't spend time with Rey's family, you do spend time with Rey. Mm-hmm. Like you get to know what her life is like as a
point.
A scavenger.
I still couldn't
but
tell you a
get
lot
to
about
know
any one of
exactly
those
what you need
characters.
to know, though.
And she is Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter. You heard it here
Whatever.
first.
I've always heard too that
That's actually my favorite.
the
fan
theory
theory.
that Finn
I think it's a
is
pretty good fan theory,
Lando's
too, actually.
kid.
No.
Genetic stone.
Oh, that one. I don't
He
think
was
that
like
that's...
I thought he was kidnapped.
Yeah, they
I thought he was kidnapped from his family.
I think
I don't
that's
think
what they
that's-
said.
Yeah,
I don't
he
know
was
if it
taken.
was-
He was taken from a family he'll never know. Yeah.
Lando.
Well, I don't know if he was
I want
necessarily...
Space Pimp back for the next movie.
I just want more midichlorians.
Yeah, where was the midichlorians?
No. Get the
Yes.
fuck out of my house.
That was my biggest problem with the movie was no midichlorians. Come on.
We never did a blood test.
speaking.
You guys are so negative. Just
That was actually, I
choking
was
shit
going to say
right
that
now.
too.
I love this
What
movie.
Jake
I
I
brought-
don't know that they actually confirmed that Finn was actually kidnapped, so to speak. They kind of almost made it sound...
He says so.
Does
I
he
was-
actually
said that.
say
I was
kidnapped?
taken from a family
Well,
I'll
he
never
says
know.
taken from a family, but I don't know if it's kind of like
Okay,
the same...
Taken.
Liam Neeson, come get him.
yeah.
It's Liam Neeson.
Whoa, I'm going to
It's
direct
Qui-Gon.
you to that movie.
Well,
Yeah.
just wait a
Confirm
second.
for Qui-Gon.
Let me
They
actually finish my
also
thought, though,
they
here.
also say that they've been raised since they were children.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And I was just going
Right.
to say that my thought is that it almost kind of sounds like the same idea behind the Jedi, that it's not necessary, that they're bred for war. That instead of like making a clone army, they're just breeding stormtroopers.
Could be. What were you going to say, Matt?
I was just going to say that what Jake brought up about the pacing of the movie was actually my biggest problem with it.
Yeah.
It was just felt like they tried to cram so much stuff in it that we just don't spend any time.
There's a lot of locations.
There's no building up to things, and yes, the locations. I just think that there's too many locations in the movie, so there's too much. We're getting from like one scene to another too quickly, and
Classic movies we
yeah,
watch are kind of
yeah.
like, rubber band. They get kind of stretched and then they snap back and they stretch and they snap back. Versus like the movies we're seeing nowadays are all action, action, action. You watch the Marvel movies, it's action from start to finish,
Right.
and the lulls are comedy breaks.
Right.
They're not either. There's no drama.
it's
the
kind
same
of the
thing like with
nature of it.
Jurassic Park, or sorry, Jurassic World.
Right.
Again, I feel like that movie was made for people like me when I saw the original Jurassic Park. They're made for a younger audience. But the
How
first.
many- I do have to ask this question though. How many worlds are there in The Force Awakens? Because I
Well,
almost
Wayland
feel...
Yutani's been doing terraforming.
We're not talking about Prometheus.
Because what do we got? We got Jakku. We've got the that forest planet, whichever one that
There's
is.
only 3 worlds.
Endor.
There's
It did make me laugh. We had sand planet, ice planet, tree planet.
I know, that's the thing that makes me mad. I'm so fucking tired of theme planets in Star Wars I could spit. Like, god damn it. Give me a balanced eco system
Mustafar.
for shit's sake. Can't we have
Ocean
one
planet.
balance?
Geonosis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lava planet.
Cloud City.
we have had a lava. We have had a
And an
lava.
ocean planet.
Yeah.
Cloud planet.
I don't think there's any more worlds in this one than there was in A New Hope.
I
though.
guess it's maybe not
There's 3.
necessarily
There's
more
3.
worlds, but
there's a lot of sets.
We
There's a lot.
we spend so much time bouncing back and forth between different parts. Like in the beginning, we start on Jakku, we're up to the ship, then we're back down to Jakku for a while, and then we're up in space, and then we're here, and then we're here, and then we're here, and then we're here. There's a lot of set pieces. I think there's a lot more set pieces in this movie. But like I think what Jake said, it is way more common, I think, because of kind of the studio system we have today and the way movies are kind of made and marketed and things like that. That's kind of what we have now. That's much more. You see a lot more of that, and to a detriment to a point, I think that it's.
There was one other issue that kind of took me out of the movie. So Han Solo and Chewie show up in a ship that's so large that the Millennium Falcon parks inside of it, right? And they have all these creatures. in it.
Docks.
Docks.
Parks
yeah.
inside of.
You don't.
You don't park a
space
spaceship,
terminal.
son.
You don't either.
Doesn't docking though like infer that it like connects to it, not fly inside of
Is
it?
this a
It was
USB
connected.
device?
It was connected.
Was it?
It was on the inside.
I thought it flew in. They
Don't
brought
question
it
me.
into
Don't
the
question
ship.
me. I'm a Star Wars fan, and you guys just don't like the shit. So how about you just shush on this one?
I'm
all right?
pretty sure it was inside the bigger ship.
Either way, there's a much larger ship than the Millennium Falcon, which I get the Millennium Falcon has some sentimental value. They just abandoned that thing. Don't look back. Any
There were space
monetary
aliens in it.
value? Like, are they just
Did
sending
you
it
not
to
see the big
insurance
monsters
company?
that were in that sucker just running around?
Yeah, but you
Remember
call
what he said? I used to have a bigger crew. I done got the hell out of there also.
Yeah, but you just vent the atmosphere. Haven't you ever seen Aliens?
We're back there.
Or Alien?
I did not enjoy his space aliens.
I don't either.
It was cartoony.
I will admit
Yeah.
actually that the space alien thing was a little
Yeah,
goofy.
I think just even
that was probably the only scene in the movie that I was really.
I think it's a gorgeous movie and very well done. Like, I wouldn't argue any of those points, but I did feel like the monsters in that ship did not look as good as a lot of other points in the movie.
Was it like something that would have been in the prequels?
kind of.
Yeah, it feels that way a little bit.
I really thought that was a spot where I was kind of building myself up for something like a throwback from the original, like maybe the monster that was in Jabba Hutt's basement, what was the Rancor, or something like that. Some monster that we had seen before that that we get to see again. But
It looked like a beholder.
See, and then everybody gets pissed that they didn't do any world building in this one.
See, but it's even the thing. But it didn't feel like
it's not Fallout, right?
I mean, world building, as in like building the mythos,
Not
like
settlement
terraforming.
building. World building.
yeah.
Well, I think we're kind of
Terraform.
at that point where we're going to kind of move on to our next. We've talked a lot about this. I think the next segment we're going to get into real quick is, do we think this is a good sequel? And I've got 2 points to make on that, and I'll go first.
You do that.
I'm gonna fight you if you're not careful.
I don't particularly think it is a good sequel to the original trilogy. I think it is a very good sequel to the prequels. Like, again, I think if this was the next movie after the original trilogy, if this was like the next movie we got, I don't think it would have done a good job with that. But I think we had the prequels. They were what they were, and they veered so far away from some of these different elements. I think this is a good sequel in that way because it becomes kind of a soft reboot. It does, for better or worse, as some of my issues with this, it feels much more like a Star Wars movie than the prequels. And that's kind of how I feel. I don't think it's a particularly great sequel in comparison to the originals, but I think it is a needed thing based on where we're at with the Star Wars franchise. That I feel like this was needed. In a way, I wish it would have had a slightly better story and a few things like that, but I think it did a good job of reestablishing what Star Wars kind of is. So that's my thought. So we're going to go around. Was this a good sequel?
I'll go ahead and go. I'm going to say that a short answer, yes. I think it's a good sequel. I can kind of sort of get on the same scale. I mean, I do think that it's definitely better than the prequels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no
but
argument.
really, I think that's the only... I get amazed when people are like, oh, I had such high expectations of this movie, so high and all I can think to myself is, why? How did you end up with high expectations when the prequel trilogy set the bar so low?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you really couldn't fail, and that's not to necessarily say that that makes it a perfect movie by any means, but it definitely... I definitely think it's a good sequel. I don't know that I would necessarily put it better than the original trilogy though.
I wouldn't. Okay, who's ever next? This is an audio podcast, Jake. Nobody can see your joke.
I can see.
Your visual joke means nothing to our audience.
I can see it.
Basically, I would say that I really like this movie, but I kind of take the pragmatic, look at it. I think this is the movie the studio had to make. Mm-hmm. Looking at all the category they had to bring back the original characters to some degree. They had to, kind of tell a story with the new characters that are going to continue the franchise, and they had to play it safe, very safe. And I'm hoping that by being able to introduce this movie first, they can take a few more liberties in the future, be a little more riskier with the plots. But I think it was the sequel they had to make to satisfy the broadest audience they could.
Which obviously
I feel
Yeah.
like everybody has the same opinion, but I kind of feel like every one of us should be wearing a Batman cowl right now.
Yeah.
I'm not the hero that Gotham wants, but I'm the hero that they need.
It's
It's not the movie that we
I was
wanted,
just
but it's the
thinking
movie
that.
that we needed.
Yeah, like Yeah. They had to get the ball rolling on a new set of movies or 50 movies a year or whatever it's going to be.
Every year there's supposed to be one.
We're going to have a lot more Star Wars to be disappointed with. If you're Derek and Matt. Robert and I are going to be giddy for like the next 15 years.
I'm not really like disappointed or hate the movie or anything. I just thought it could have been better.
I wanted it to be good.
It could
I
have
didn't necessarily
definitely
think it was
been
going to
better.
be great.
They got me with a lot of things. Like, I liked that it looked like the original movies. Not that, like, I think they need to have, like, everything needs to look the same. It's like, I liked that the aesthetics were similar because that's what I always found off-putting about the prequels is that they just look like they're completely different. That there's...
That
like,
use of
the
practical
technology
effects
is
and
way
stuff.
more
well,
advanced.
yeah, it's not just that. It's like the colors and everything. You know,
Yeah.
it's just the. So I was like, I liked a lot of things about it. I liked that included, and so I'm like, I'm kind of confused in a way because in a way I don't know if it feels like a sequel. So, because yeah.
I like the lightsaber fight a lot.
It's more like
I
a
thought that was
bridge.
a great
It's more
fight,
like a
actually.
bridge than a
Yeah.
sequel.
Yeah.
So
I love
The pod racing was excellent this time.
oh yeah,
That was one thing we actually
that's what I
didn't
tell
touch on
everybody who
was
hasn't
the
seen it yet.
dynamic of the Force between Rey and Kylo
like-
Ren.
I wish their
They
names were
finally
not so
explained
similar. I wish Ren and Rey were less similar.
Finn and Rey.
No, Kylo Ren
Oh,
and then Rey
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
and then Finn. They all have
Everybody has 3-letter
Hey,
names.
by the way, I haven't got a turn
Oh
yet.
my god, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They
It's
all
like
have-
they got really lazy.
they all have
We
3-letter
can't make
names.
these complicated Star Wars names, so everybody gets 3-letter names.
That's entirely accurate. Okay, Robert.
Y'all are wrong. Straight up. I shouldn't say that, but I thought this was a great sequel. I thought it. When you say they had to bring characters back. You know, they had to do certain things. If the prequels taught us anything, they taught us that shit's not true. That they don't have to do that stuff. That they could do something completely worse.
They showed you how you can do it better.
I think
The fans are gonna hate it.
they can do it.
I
Good.
think this movie. I don't think they had to do it, but I think this movie needed those characters to send us off. I think that's what a sequel is supposed to do. I think
Right.
it does
Passing the torch.
It does connect directly to those movies. Yeah, I mean we're carrying on that story, and I think this movie sells that notion. I mean, even if we don't understand a whole lot about the politics, and it's not a perfect movie, and for the flaws that it has, I think anybody that watches this movie is going to walk away going, the story of the Skywalkers and the story of Leia and those guys, it's still going on. We're still we're moving into the next generation now.
We finally got more of what we wanted.
Which is and it's a hugely successful movie. I don't
Hugely.
know what kind of measurement you need to be a more successful sequel than that.
You know, and I think that's probably one of the best points that you could get to right there is that no matter how much anybody tries to talk down about this movie, not even just the numbers, the fact that it's beating all these records, but the speed at which it's doing it. It's been out for 16, 17 days now, and it's already almost got Avatar beaten, and it most likely will by the end of this weekend.
And it's got emotional beats, even if they're just little ones. I mean, Jake got caught up with the Millennium Falcon. Like, for me, my biggest emotional beat, for whatever reason, was when Leia and Han Solo hugged. I mean, that got me.
That was good.
Matt even had one where he's like, yeah. And Derek just hates
And then
Harrison
C-3PO
Ford.
just pops
So
up. I was like, that's perfect.
Derek thought he saw an Ewok and got
you
all
know,
excited.
I was.
I think we've
Jump.
we've really dogged on this movie so much. I want to say, I went into this movie certain that I would not like Kylo Ren. Like, all of the imagery and stuff we got leading up to that movie led me to believe that that's not going to be a cool character. He is far and away the coolest bad guy in a Star Wars movie in a long time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I was blown away by how much I wanted to hate this guy. Like, he's not Vader. Like, he's not a rehash of Vader.
Yeah.
He's definitely Vader
Well, the weird way
fanboy, but he is not Vader.
He's trying to be like I
Well,
can
see,
see what they were going with.
He wants
there,
to be
though.
Vader so
Yeah.
bad.
But that's the thing.
But
That's
that's
what
what
I'm
he's
trying
not.
to
But
make.
that's
Is he's
awesome.
not.
Yeah,
He is
right.
so different.
Yeah. I loved him. I thought Kylo Ren was great.
One of the best scenes of the movie is when he loses his temper and
Oh,
beats
yeah.
the shit out of.
And he just starts
That was
fucking
awesome.
shit up.
I love that. I'm like, That was great.
I
Do
like that
it
we're
again.
seeing, like,
Somebody piss him off.
See,
I know. I like
Please.
that we're not even just seeing, like an Anakin Skywalker style Sith, who just like casually chokes you when he doesn't like you. Now you're getting to see a Sith just being pissed. It's like, this is what I would do if I had a lightsaber too. I mean, if I had a lightsaber and I was that angry, I'd probably start fucking some shit up too. I mean, just like him, just slashing everything that I could get off. And then, like, I don't know. I thought it was great. I thought he was awesome.
So
He's great.
he needed to murder more people if he wants to be like Darth Vader.
He killed poor
Darth
Max Van
Vader-
Sydow.
Darth Vader gets his ass kicked more often than not. Like, Darth Vader's like one of the most overrated villains. He's getting his ass kicked in almost every movie he's in. I think he only wins one time.
Robert, the guy uses a respirator to breathe. Give him a break.
I know.
He's
Geez.
an asthmatic old man.
Yeah.
He's a
quadriplegic,
He's
for
a
God's
special
sakes.
needs Sith.
I'm respiratory shaming here.
He's a quadriplegic with a respirator, and his body is covered in like 90%
got
burn
burned.
scar.
Well, that's my point. My
Honestly,
whole
the
point is
Empire
maybe
is
he
a lot
shouldn't.
more accepting than
Maybe
you are,
he
Robert.
shouldn't be talking so much shit. That's all I'm trying to say.
As long as I wonder too, like maybe the Empire is actually the good guys, and the rebels.
Great healthcare, I mean.
Right. They didn't chop his arms and legs off and leave him to burn in lava.
And I will say, I absolutely adore that little
Ewok.
back and forth mind rape scene between Kylo Ren and Rey. That was probably one of the best Force scenes I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie.
I like the
Watching
thumbs up scene
battle
with
mentally.
BB-8, man. That was
Oh yeah,
I laughed so hard I had a pee song.
I like BB-8.
I do. I love.
I
BB-8.
didn't
thought
think
he
I was going
great.
to, and I enjoyed it.
I still
I
think
liked
it's
him
crazy
going
that
down
he's
the
actually
stairs.
voiced by
It
characters.
was like thud,
That was funny.
thud.
yeah.
Okay, so because we're running a little long on this one, so we're gonna do our last little segment pretty quick. What is your sequel to this movie? And you can't do anything based on knowledge of what the sequel is actually going to be. Jake was already raising his finger, which again the audience can't see.
Are we talking about what we wanted the sequel to be, or what the sequel to this movie should be?
I think what we're going to do is, because I think everybody is in agreement to a point that they liked the movie enough and it was a decent enough sequel. I think since we're running a tad long, let's go right into what is your sequel to this movie? What is what is episode 8? What is episode 8 for you? Oh God. All right.
I'll go first.
With Robert's real ones, he always gets mad at our amazing ideas that we have.
They're terrible
They're
ideas.
amazing ideas.
Here's what I'd like to see. It's not really necessarily direct sequel to the next movie, but this is what I want. I want the last. And I think I mentioned this the other day. What I want is in the last battle, the last big battle. I want Finn, Rey, and Kylo both wielding lightsabers against Snoke. That's what I want. I want there to be not one Jedi walking away like with Return of the Jedi. I want there to be Jedi in the universe, multiple Jedi in the universe. That was one of my biggest disappointments going into this movie, was finding out that there still aren't 30 fucking years later, there still aren't any Jedi. I'm gonna be so mad. So when this is all over, I want there to be more than one lightsaber walking away.
No, I think that's perfect.
I think that's a really good one, actually.
I would like I don't know what I would recommend for a sequel, but I would like something that's maybe more an exploration of the Force and maybe expand on some
You
ideas
like the
there.
prequel movies?
Except for
Exactly like the prequels.
Except for I think
I
even the
want-
problem with those movies is they bring up midichlorians and they don't explore that either.
they
don't
They
deal
actually
with it.
do not explore anything there. There's no kind of like underlying like what is the significance of the Force in the universe, and I would like to see. Yeah, I just want to see a movie more exploring the Force.
For me, those kind of movies are like when you see a zombie movie and they try to explain where the plague comes from. I don't care. I just want to see zombies. I want to see the people's interactions with them.
I know. I kind of agree with me a little bit. I'd like to see. I don't need them to explain every detail of it. but
it doesn't need. It doesn't have to be detailed. It just. I don't know. It'd be more interesting, I think.
And I think even more that, like, if you wanted to expand on that, it would be not even just seeing more of it, but to see how Luke Skywalker would actually train the next generation of Jedi in
I want him
in
to
the
hop on
future,
Rey's back.
compared to
And
the
chase a
original.
jump
I
around
would
with
maybe
him.
liked it to. What I would like is to be the Force to be a little bit less abstract. and just maybe like explain what's
You really do want midichlorians, don't you?
Maybe I do. See, I kind of like the idea of midichlorians in a way, but I still think it's stupid because I like all the crazy aliens and stuff. So the idea that it was bacteria or something is kind of makes sense in a way. It's kind of stupid, but it kind of makes sense in a
Theory,
way.
we can get more Jedis by growing cultures of these midichlorians.
Yeah, we can
You
make
can
Jedis.
inject them. Robert, you can be a Jedi with my new patented drug that we're developing.
Do you even Star Wars, bro?
So it's like Monsanto is now like
That's the Empire.
yeah.
I think for my sequel, I think I would probably I'd like to see a movie that does take more risks, and I think a really good path that they could go with that would be to just kind of keep the Resistance as a secondary thing and focus all of it on basically Rey, Finn, and possibly even Luke Skywalker, and Poe just going around the galaxy messing shit up. Just I want to see just that group on their own little adventure that's not tied to, like, not necessarily directly tied to the Resistance, but all about, like Robert said, bringing the Jedi back and getting it all started. Like, it will be interesting because the ending of Force Awakens is probably one of the most open-ended endings to any of the Star Wars movies, the way it ends. Mm-hmm. Like, even though Rey meets up with Luke Skywalker on that planet and tries to hand him his lightsaber,
The most awkward,
there's always
looking at each other moment.
Yeah, there's always that passage of time, though, between movies, so we're not going to get to see what his first words to Rey are. Right. And I'm just hoping that in the next movie, Rey and Luke Skywalker just show up and just
Here's
messing with
Here's
shit.
what his first words need to be. They need to be, when you're ready, you don't need a lightsaber.
Where the fuck did you bring this back?
I was gonna say.
I don't need this.
I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure his first words are the fuck.
Yeah. Why didn't you just take the elevator?
Okay.
That should have been his first word.
I've got my sequel, which I agree a little bit with Ryan. I think they would be smart to take some cues from Empire, not necessarily story structure-wise, but the way Empire kind of veered off of A New Hope a little bit, some of the things they did.
You're going to get certain story beats no matter what, but I mean...
Right. Well, I mean, some of it is generic, and that's even the thing with New Hope. There's a lot of generic stuff in it that it's impossible to not have any kind of callbacks to it. But like I said, I want to spend time with those three new characters. I want to spend time with Poe and Rey and Finn, and I want to get to know them better because I like them. I think they're incredibly well cast. I like the actors. I want the Warriors, but as Star Wars. I want somehow like they're trapped behind enemy lines, and the three of them have to travel through the galaxy, and they keep coming upon weirder and weirder First Order things to get back to the Rebel Alliance.
It's like the Odyssey.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's what the Warriors is, the Odyssey.
Actually, it's
Star Wars Voyager.
It would almost be, I don't know,
Yeah.
this is a little bit more of an obscure reference, I guess, to anybody who doesn't play video games, or especially classic video games. If you ever played Final Fantasy 3 and or 6, depending on which number system you decide to go by on the Super Nintendo back in the day, there's like a whole segment of the game where the heroes all split up into these like 3 different groups, and they're all fighting to get back to the rebel base, basically, throughout this entire segment of the game.
Yeah, I'd like to spend the movie, I want to spend the next movie with those 3 characters. You know, I want them together. I'm okay to see some of these things. I'm okay with seeing Luke. I want some Luke in it. I want to see some Leia. You know, I want to still see some Kylo Ren and things like that. But I want to spend the bulk of the movie with the 3 of them and their interactions.
I don't know the sequel I want, but I know how I want it to start.
Okay.
So there's a hallway and it's dark, and there's a body being dragged down the hallway. And occasionally, as they pass the light, you see a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then it reveals that it's Han Solo.
Wait a minute.
And then all you hear is saws and drills and and then all of a sudden he wakes up in a bodysuit like Darth Vader's, and he screams, "No!"
We cannot top it.
Yes, we can.
That's amazing.
Because
I
they're
didn't
going to
even know
bring
what
Han
that
Solo
was.
into all these movies, regardless of how Harrison Ford feels.
We're gonna
We're going to throw more money at him.
We're gonna take his audio files and we're gonna have it played over, and we're just gonna clip together dialogue.
BoJack Horseman him into the movie with the 3D.
You know,
I say the next time Jake's late, we don't wait for him.
I love it. All right, I think that's a good point to end with.
And if anybody is
Dark
still
Solo.
unsure about whether or not they like The Force Awakens right now, I can totally put the holiday special in for you and remind you of what a bad Star Wars movie really is.
The holiday special is such an interesting thing.
Why would you go that far when you can just put in Attack of the Clones?
This is true.
I hate it.
I don't know, the holidays, I don't know, Attack of the Clones
I
is
hate that
pretty
movie.
bad,
I
but
fall
I don't know if
asleep
I'd
in
go
it
a
at
holiday
the
special
theater.
bad, though.
I remember that actually.
Yeah,
'cause
we
you
were
saw
there
it
with you.
us.
Okay.
Jake fell asleep.
Attack of the Clones does not have a Wookiee fantasy masturbation scene, so it's...
It does have Jefferson's starship, though.
Yeah.
Mine does.
Wait,
Just
that wasn't.
ruining Robert's childhood.
Did I just imagine that? I thought there was a Wookiee masturbation scene in Attack of the Clones.
I am no longer participating in this podcast
You
episode.
can catch Robert in the new Dirty Sprocket podcast network show, My Prequels.
Yes.
You can also find me in my new podcast, Fuck Jake.
I think
I'll also co-star in that one.
I think we need just one podcast us talking about things we imagined happen in movies.
The movies
think
you
we
fall
should-
asleep through, and then you kind of wake up and you're
The movie
kinda
I
unsure.
saw while I was stoned.
We should do one on a movie that none of us actually see, but we just read the synopsis on IMDb and come up with our own plots.
That would actually be
That's
kind of
the social
interesting.
experiment.
Yeah.
Also on the Dirty Sprocket
On the Dirty
network.
Sprocket Network. All right. With that, thank you for joining us at the Dirty Sprocket Network. Please like, subscribe, all that stuff. Again, in the comments, let us know what is your sequel to The Force Awakens. And at the same time, if you have a suggestion of a movie you would like us to talk about, please put it in there. We probably won't ever do it because fuck you, but
Also, I'd like to point out, all you real Star Wars fans out there that know about all the shit that we screwed up, and I know there's a lot, please take it easy on us.
we didn't screw up any of this.
Yeah, we did.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
we did.
It was all just acting.
And if there's Star Wars fans that are listening to this, they're going to tell us about it, and I just want them to know that from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry.
Well, they're wrong. I want to be as antagonistic to our audience as I can before we're done with this podcast.
Are we still rolling? Because those guys are a bunch of assholes.
You still listening to us? Fuck you.
We've done a good job. Good job, everybody.
It was fun working with you guys, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think with
good
that,
times. Good times.
we will say good night and thank you for listening.